Hello, my name is Paul Grogan and welcome to the Gaming Rules Top 10 Games of 2018. Now, if you are watching this just after I've put this video up, it is currently February 2020. So why is this video being done right now? Well, a little bit of a background to this. I don't like to do my top 10 games the same time as everybody else does, which seems to be like the end of the year. And the reason for that is by the end of that year, first of all, I haven't played as many of the games of that year as I wanted to, because a lot of games get released at Essen Spiel, which is in October. And also, I personally feel it's a little bit too soon to judge it on games that have just come out. So what I like to do is do it basically 1 year after everybody else. Now, I should have done this video in December. Unfortunately, personal plans changed and a lot of things happened. So I'm just getting round to doing it now, but I plan to do these in December moving forward. So this December, I will be doing my top 5 games or top 10 games of 2019. So anyway, what this video is about is, as I say, my favourite games that came out in 2018. Not the best games that I played in 2018, because some of these I've actually only just played. But what I've done is I've used a Geek tool, which is available. It is the Geek Group app. So thank you very much for the people who pointed that out to me, and also thank you to the people who run that app. But what it did is it took all of my plays from Board Game Geek and it basically filtered it down to all of the games that were released in 2018. Now that's 51 games in total. When I first saw that number, I thought, that doesn't seem that many. But I spoke to my partner, Vicky, and she said, no, actually, that's quite a lot. Out of all of the games that came out in 2018, you played 51 of them. And yeah, okay, so that's how many I've played. So the first caveat is, this is just the games that I've played. If I don't list your favourite game of 2018, it might be that I didn't play it. None of us get a chance to play the hundreds, if not thousands of new games that come out every year. I try to play as many as I can. But yeah, so this list is all of the games that came out in 2018 that I have played and my favourites. These are not going to be in any order. I did think about this. This was originally going to be a top 5 list, because what I did is I took that list of 51. I then got rid of all the ones that I thought, that wasn't actually that good. I didn't really enjoy that. Got it down to about 35 and then was like, oh wow, how am I going to get this down to 5? And I had to be quite brutal with it. And in the end, I had a list of sort of some honourable mentions, and then I was down to 9. And I was going to really struggle to get that 9 down to 5. So I wimped out and I decided to make my top 5 a top 10, which is why this is a top 10 video and not a top 5 video, as I originally planned it to be. They're not going to be in any order. Again, I've wimped out. I found it quite difficult to actually rate these games against themselves. So although I have a number 1, which I'll be mentioning during the list, the rest of them are all going to be in alphabetical. Well, they're all going to be in alphabetical order, but I am going to highlight which one was, I think, on reflection, my favourite of the lot. But the rest of them, I'm really not sure. So yes, all the games which I've played, it's going to be 10 of them, and honourable mentions. Now, the other thing is, a lot of people know that I work full-time in the industry. So a lot of the games that come out I work on, I either do the rulebooks for them, or I help develop the game, or the publisher is one of my clients, or I've done a rules video for the game or something like that. So I really try to, when I'm doing videos like this, which is my own personal thoughts, I put any favoritism aside. I don't have any favoritism to games that I helped work on, or publishers or clients that pay me money to do work. This is my personal opinion. So I just wanted to get that out of the way at the start, that one of the games that I'm going to be talking about is a game that I was involved in some way. Right, let's go on. So first of all, the honourable mentions. Now, these are honourable mentions because a lot of these I've only played once, and I really enjoyed that one play. But I didn't feel that after one play, I should put it on my favourite games of that year. That didn't feel right. Because your first play is always a little bit of a different experience. You might have a really good impression and then repeated plays, and the game might actually turn out to be, not very good or broken or whatever. So I've listed these. Most of these I've only played once. And if I'd have played them more, they might have made it onto this list. I did enjoy my first play of these games. So the first one is Realm of Sand by Emperor S3. Now, I played this game at This Is Not GridCon, which is a convention that I organised in the summer of 2019. I think a friend of mine, Ben, saw it for sale in the bring and buy, and had heard good things about it. So basically bought it, and we sat down and we learned how to play it. Right now, I don't remember that much about the game. I'm going to show some photos on screen of it now, but I do remember liking it, and I do remember, putting this on my list of games that I was going to seek out to possibly acquire myself, because I don't know anybody else who has it. And yeah, I really enjoyed this game. So that's Realm of Sand by Emperor S3. The next one, and I'm surprised this is on the list, and this is Vindication by Orange Nebula Games. Now, the reason I'm surprised it's on the list is a lot of people have been talking about this game recently, like in the last few months, because Kickstarter people have been getting their copies of it. So I thought this game only came out in 2019. I hadn't really heard anybody talking about it in 2018. So when I found that it had been released in 2018, I was like, no, that's wrong. Surely it was released last year. So it turns out the original version of the game was in 2018, but then there were some expansion sets, and I think they did a reprint of the base game, and it's only in 2019 that I heard lots of people start talking about it. I've actually just earlier this week, I have filmed my video log, which covers everything that I did between the 8th of January 2020 and the 8th of February, and I actually played Vindication during that period of time. So I've only just played this game in the last month. I played it once, I enjoyed it, and that's it. That's why it's gone onto my honourable mentions, because, as I mentioned at the start, I might really like this game. This game might actually be super fantastic. I definitely want to play it more. I enjoyed my first play of it, and that's why it's on this list. Next one is Endeavour Age of Sail by Burnt Island Games. Now, I actually have the original Endeavour, okay? And I've played that a whole bunch of times, and I really like the game. It was out of print for a very long time. People were offering crazy money for my copy of it and for, other copies, because I got it when it came out originally, whatever year that was, I can't remember. So yeah, I really like Endeavour. Endeavour Age of Sail is basically a new version of it, and it came out in 2018. Lots of extra bits to it, some tweaked rules, which I actually like, and I have played this new version once. Mark's got a copy of this, a friend of mine, and I have played it once, and again, I like the original. I think the new version is an improvement. So if I'd have played it more, this would have probably gone onto my favourites list. The next one is Heroes of Terrinoth from Fantasy Flight Games. Heroes of Terrinoth is a game which I really like it, but again, I've only played it once. It is based on the Warhammer Adventure card game, which got cancelled once Fantasy Flight and Games Workshop, basically their partnership split up. And they relaunched the game as Heroes of Terrinoth, which is a reskin, a couple of tweaked rules for the better. And it's a cooperative card game. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we're going to have any more content for this game, which is a real shame. Not that I've played the original game. What is surprising about this game is that as a lot of the gaming industry tends to move away from standalone games to campaign-driven ones where you level up your character between sessions and everything else, the Warhammer Adventure card game was that. You would play a whole campaign, your characters would level up between sessions. With Heroes of Terrinoth, and they did that with Descent as well. Yeah, the original Descent was just one-off scenarios, and then they did Descent 2nd Edition, which was a campaign system. But with Heroes of Terrinoth, they went the other way. So Heroes of Terrinoth is actually just individual one-off scenarios. There is character development during the scenario, but there isn't any between scenarios. So it's interesting that they went a different way, but the core mechanisms are the same, and a lot of the stuff that was done, one of the reasons why I like the game, is some of the main mechanisms within this game and within the Warhammer Adventure card game has been used in some of Fantasy Flight's other games as well, like the Arkham Horror card game and Marvel Champions card game. So I really like that, really want to play it more. I say I've only played it once. And finally, Space Corp by GMT. Now, this is a game which I have played 3 or 4 times, and there's so much I like about this game. It's hard sci-fi. I love the fact that it's realistic sci-fi. Okay, it's got aliens in it, but the bit where you're exploring the solar system, I really like that. I did astrophysics at university. I grew up with a real fascination about science fiction and real hard science fiction. So I really like the game. It is a bit long and there's some random elements to it. And the more I've played it, and I know some people are going to disagree on the random elements, but yeah, the more I play it, those random elements do tend to be a little bit too swingy, and that stops the game. That and the playtime does stop the game reaching my top 10. I was really unsure about this. It was potentially going to be in my top 10, and maybe it should have been, but it's just dropped out into the honourable mentions. Right, now, on with the actual top 10. And I've actually spent a little bit of time this morning looking into some fancy animated graphics for number 10 and then number 9, and then realised I'm not doing these in any order. So forget that. The first one on my list, and again, these are not in any order, is Cerebria, The Inside World. And I mentioned just a minute ago that one of the games that I'm talking about is a game I was professionally involved in, and this is the one. So let's get this out of the way right at the start. This is published by Mind Clash Games. It is a big box game, typical Mind Clash series. They did Anachrony, they did Tricerion. They've got Perseverance coming out this year. Big box game, really nice components, complex game. And I was involved in this game because I helped work on the rulebook and I did the official how to play video for the game. And I did help with a little bit of the play testing in the final stages. But I think this game is fantastic. Now, the game I don't think is amazingly popular. And that's a real shame because I think there is a gem of a game in here. It's very heavy. I mean, the game comes with this beginning setup start of rules, which strips out a lot of the rules of the game. And I would definitely recommend that for your first game. And the full game even has like deck construction rules. There is a lot going on in this game. It is very heavy. The theme of the game I absolutely love. It's set in the mind of somebody and you're shaping that person. It's a team-based game and I love team-based games. One side is playing all the nice emotions like joy and love and happiness, and the other side is playing the dark emotions like, you know, anger and hatred and anxiety and stuff like that. The game is effectively a two-player tactical war game, but in teams. So generally the base game is 4 players with 2 players per team. And I know there's a train of thought that say, oh, this is actually really a 2-player game. You shouldn't play it with 4, but I like team games. And this game is so heavy and so complex. It's not a game I would want to play just on my own on one side. I want to play it with somebody else, talking to them about where we're going to go. But it is a tactical war game disguised as this nice fluffy theme where you're inside the mind of somebody, but it's very much tactical. You are moving pieces about, you're trying to get control of areas, but you're doing it with the emotions. I love the game. I want to play more of it. The artwork was my favourite artwork of any game for that whole year. I'm absolutely in love with the artwork. Every piece of artwork for the game, you know, artwork is very subjective and that style of artwork really suits me. So yeah, there's so much content in this game. I've even got the expansion set that takes it up to 6 players with a balance force that's got a totally different objective as well. And I've not even touched that. The other downside of the game is it can be very long, but I've played a game of this in about 2 hours. As I say, it has a very steep learning curve. My rules video is very long. A full teach is probably close to an hour. But then when you actually know the game and you play it, it doesn't seem as complicated as it was when you first played it. And the last time I played it was just over 2 hours for a game. So it isn't a long game unless you're taking ages to play it. Anyway, that is Cerebria, The Inside World. Next up is Coimbra. Now, looking back on this, I think Coimbra still stands as one of my favourites of 2018, which is why it's on this list. But I went on a bit of a journey with this game. My first play of it was fantastic. Then I played a second game and a third game and I was like, oh, I think the purple track might be a bit too strong. And then lots of people online were talking about balance issues and the purple tracks being strong. Then I played it at a couple of other different games with some of the different people, and the person who went with the purple track didn't win because somebody was doing something else. So the purple track is strong, and that's the track which basically will give you points for travelling around the monasteries. But I still enjoy a lot of the aspects of this game. The selection of the dice and then where to put those dice is it's not a simple decision, but it's a quick decision. Oh, I'll take that dice and I'll put it there. But the ramifications of that decision and the impact of that choice and what that has on the game, I really like all parts of this game. I think the graphic design is good. There is some kind of theme in the game, but that doesn't really matter to me. And yeah, it's just a good, solid Euro game. I really like it, and that is Coimbra. I've also done a review of this game. So if you're interested in knowing more of my thoughts about the game, then check out my review. Next up is Crown of Amara. Now, the 2 games that I've covered so far are quite heavy games, and Crown of Amara isn't as heavy as the others. It is a sort of medium weight game, I would say. Some people might say light to medium, but I think it's a medium weight game. I think it's a great game. Now, on the surface, Crown of Amara isn't doing anything new at all. It is going around one board and collecting resources, and then going around another board and spending those resources. The unique thing about the game is it's got a double rondel system. You've got two pieces. One moves around one board and the other moves around the other board. But the game is just nice. It plays smooth, it plays relatively quick, the rulebook's good, the components are good, the graphic design is good, and a lot of that contributes to me enjoying the game, because you can play the game and you can enjoy it without worrying about having to constantly look up rules or getting confused by certain graphic design choices. So yeah, it's a really good game. Again, I've done a review of this as well. So if you want to know more about Crown of Amara, go and check that out. But I was a bit surprised. When I looked at my top 10, I looked at Crown of Amara and thought, is that really one of my top 10 games? Not that it's a bad game, but is it really? Because a lot of the games that I'm covering are going to be medium to heavy or heavy games. And that's kind of what I'm known for. But I looked at it and I went, yeah, this is one of my favourite games from 2018. So that is Crown of Amara. Next up, no surprise to anybody, this is a Stefan Feld game. This is Forum Yharnam. If I was forced into doing a top 5 rather than a top 10, this would be in my top 5. I absolutely loved this game, and after 2 plays of it, I actually said that this has replaced Trajan for my favourite Stefan Feld game. After more plays of it, I've taken that back. It isn't, for me now, as good as Trajan. Trajan is still my favourite game, but there is so much to like about Forum Yharnam. And if it weren't for a balance issue, which I believe is there, and I'm not quite sure how to fix that balance issue next time, if it weren't for that, this would be higher up on my list, and it would probably be my favourite Stefan Feld game, because I love the way that the mechanisms work. I love so much about this game. But I think, and it's not just me that thinks this, I have spoken to other people, there is a bit of a balance issue with 2 of the is it counsellors or advisors that you can get? The one that moves the track along the tree thing, and another one that allows you to place in the forum anyway. I think I've played this game 5 or 6 times now, and every time it's been won by somebody who got that combination. And it does seem a little bit strong, and the stats from my played games have shown that it does appear to be very good. So it is something that I'm going to look at before I play next, as to couple of people have already given me some suggestions of what to do, because they believe it's an issue as well. But other than that, yeah, I think the game is great, and I've done a review of this too. I know I'm going to say this for a lot of things on this list, that I have done a review of them, but that's just how it's worked out. I have done a review of it. Right, that's it, I think. So yeah, Forum Yharnam. Next up, and this might be a little bit of a surprise. In fact, most people who know me and the kind of games that I like, and in fact the kind of games that I've already covered in this video, you are probably going to be surprised to find that Just One is in my top games of 2018. So this is Just One. This is a party game. It's a cooperative party game. And I have only just played this recently. I've played it 3 times. But the first time I played it was New Year's Eve 2019. So this is another reason why it's good to wait a year before doing these videos. Because if I'd have done this video at the end of 2018, I hadn't played Just One. I have now, and I have played it 3 times, and every game has been fantastic. I knew I was going to like this game once it was described to me, but I didn't realise I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. And I enjoyed it for a couple of reasons. The first one is it's just really good fun. It's an excellent time. Obviously, it's dependent on the group that you play with, but every time I've played it, it's been excellent. The social aspect of the game, we've had a good laugh. There's been laugh out loud moments. But it's also clever. This isn't just a silly throwaway party game. This is a really clever design. It's very, very simple, but it's really clever. And because it's cooperative, it just works really well. I didn't realise the game was cooperative until my first game of it. And I was like, oh, right. Oh, yeah, of course. But yeah, really, really good, especially when, there's a clue that you've got to find a clue for, and you're all looking at each other because you all know you want to write a certain thing, but then if you write it, you know somebody else is going to write it, and there can only ever be just one answer. If 2 people write the same clue in secret, when you reveal them, they're removed. But we've had some just really good games of this. It's a game that I would never say no to in the right circumstances, but it's a party game, but perfectly suitable for gamers who like heavier games like myself. So that is Just One. Next up, another one that would be in my top 5 if I was having to do a top 5, Newton. Now, similar to what I said about Forum Trade Yharnam, Newton, absolutely love the game. Possibly, I think I like it more than Forum Trade Yharnam. One of the reasons why I like Newton is it plays fairly quick, turns are quick. I like the mechanisms within the game. I love what you're doing within the game. The theme, I've done a review of this and I said it in my review. I don't really think there is a theme to this game. There is a setting, okay? But theme-wise, nah. It's just a Euro game where you're doing lots of different things to get points. But I love that. The variability in this game is one of its selling points. And this is one of the weak points that I have, is because, and the next time I play this, I'm gonna make a vow to myself that I need to really look at the board, because the massive amount of variability in the setup means that you need to be looking at the board at the start of the game and going, right, I have a plan. I'm going to do that, I'm going to go there, and I'm going to do that, because then that end game scoring is going to get me points for them, so I'm going to try and get them, and I'm not going to bother with that. You have to react slightly in the game depending on what the other players do. A little bit. It is generally multiplayer solitaire, which I have no problem with. But yeah, the variability in the setup is great. Now, similar to Forum Trade Yharnam, there's a lot of talk about another balance issue with this game, in that the books are too strong. And if I'd have filmed this video a year ago, I would have said the same thing. I have now played it a few more times since feeling the books are too strong, and I am now of the opinion that you've got to do the books. You've got to do them a bit, but you don't have to do them completely. And in fact, I've played a game where somebody did the books a lot, and another player did the books not a lot, but they did them a bit, and that player won. So it is possible to win without going heavy into the books, but the books are fairly strong. But yeah, there are other things you can do in the game. So that is Newton. I've done a review of this game, and also at the end of last year they released an expansion set, a little mini expansion set, and I've done a live tutorial and playthrough of that. So if you're interested in seeing us play through Newton, seeing me do terribly, I think, and seeing what the expansion set brings, then those videos are on my channel. Okay, next up is the game which made the top 9 into a top 10. So I think I mentioned at the start that I got my list of 51 and I managed to get it down, and I got it down to 9. And I was supposed to get it down to 5, and then I changed my mind and went, tell you what, instead of making it 9, I'll make it 10. So I looked through the list of all of the other ones that I hadn't included in the 10, and I saw this one. And I thought, okay, I'm going to put this on there. And then after I'd put it on there, I looked at the top 10 list again and went, this is well deserving of this, to be on this list, because I like this game more than some of the other ones on this list. So apologies to Cosmos, Matthew Dunstan and Brett Gilbert for not originally including this in my top 9, because it should have been. And this is Roll for Adventure. Now, Roll for Adventure is a family weight sort of game, maybe family plus with the advanced bits, but definitely a family weight game. And I'm thinking, why am I putting a family weight game on my top 10 list? But again, I've already had Just One on there. And what was the other game that I mentioned as well? Crown of Amara. Now, this is lighter than Crown of Amara. This is a cooperative fantasy, work together to collect these jewels and complete the objective. And I've played this game, I don't know, maybe 5, 6 times now. And there's different difficulty settings, there's different characters, there's different sides of the board, so you can have different challenges. It's cooperative, I like that. And I've played it a whole bunch. I've enjoyed every single game of it. And the other good thing about this game is I've introduced it to a number of other people, taught them how to play, and then left them to play it. And afterwards they said, this is a really good game. And that's influenced me. It kind of reaffirms my, there's some games out there that I think are great games, and then other people play them and they go, it wasn't very good. Whereas everybody who I've lent this game to and everybody who's played this game has said it's a really good game. So that's another reason why it's on my list. Yeah, that's Roll for Adventure. I think that's all I wanted to say about it. I keep meaning to do a playthrough of this. I've not done a review of it, and I would like to do a playthrough of it at some point when I get a chance to cover it on the channel. So that's Roll for Adventure. Next up, and again, people who follow me and people who know the games I like are not going to be surprised at all that Teotihuacan is on this list. And I've spent a year and a half practicing how to pronounce it. So Teotihuacan, I think that's about right. Anyway, so yeah, no surprise that this is on my list. This is a heavy game. There's a lot going on with this game, but I absolutely loved my first play of it, and I have enjoyed every play I've done of it since. I've done a review of it on my channel, and also in December I did a live solo playthrough. I think it was December. Yeah, it was December. So if you want to see my review of it, it's on the channel, and if you want to see a solo playthrough where I make loads of mistakes because I hadn't played it in months and I was very, very rusty with it, then that is on the channel as well. Having thought about this game on reflection and added it to this list, it's a game that I want to play again. I don't necessarily would play the solo game again because I found that a little bit fiddly. It's very clever. It's David Turczi style clever, which is a little bit fiddly for me. But the base game I just really like. And I know it has its critics and a lot of people don't like it, but the fact that it's a rondel mechanism, you pick up a piece and you can move it 1 to 3 spaces, but you've got 3 pieces on the board. Oh, and they improve, and then they get old and they retire. And there's bonuses for having pieces in the same place, but you are affected by the other players because it's more expensive if there's other people there. And the variability in the setup. When you play the first game with the suggested setup, it's done like that in such a way that you can go, oh, I'll go there and get wood and then go here and spend the wood. I'll go there and get stone, go there, get gold, and go there and spend them. If you shuffle those starting areas and put them out randomly, whoa, the whole game is just completely different because all of a sudden that route that you will take of get this and then spend it is all swapped around. There's technologies in the game that do all sorts of other things. My only criticism of the game is it's a little bit too fiddly. There's a couple of bits in there that are like, okay, what have I done? As I've just spent some wood to put a piece on there, that gets me some points. I want to move up on this track, and then because it's Tuesday and it's raining, I move this piece down 1 space. Okay, I'm exaggerating a bit there. But there's a lot of people who I've played this game with, and there's a few bits that they've just forgotten during the game because there's a couple of extra little steps in there. But great game, really enjoy playing it and would definitely play it again. That is Teotihuacan. Right, next up is Underwater Cities. Now, I mentioned at the start about my professional involvement in games. Underwater Cities is published by Delicious Games. It's Vladimir Suchy. Once he broke away from CGE, formed his own company, Delicious Games. But when he was still doing work with CGE, I played an early prototype of Underwater Cities. So I'm listing it here. I wasn't really involved in it. And in fact, when Underwater Cities came out and they said, oh yeah, Paul, this is that game that you actually played a prototype of 3 years ago. I was like, is it? It looks so completely different. So yes, I played an early prototype of this game and probably gave my initial thoughts on it, but it was so far before the game came out, it really had no bearing on it. Underwater Cities, love this game. Absolutely love this game. And if I'm honest, and I had to pick just one game that was my best game of 2018, this is it. So there you go. My announcement. Best game of 2018 for me, Underwater Cities. I've done a review of it, and I've also done a tutorial and playthrough video of it, of the expansion. Oh yeah, full disclaimer. Delicious Games sponsored me to do a playthrough of the expansion. I had forgotten that when putting this list together. So here you go. You know I'm being honest. I'm not saying it was my favourite game just because they commissioned me to do a video of the expansion set. No, not at all. I wanted to do the expansion set because the game's great. Now, the downside with Underwater Cities is it can be long. And your first game is likely to be 4 hours. And I've played, my first game was close to 4 hours. However, there is the infamous 3-player game that took about an hour and a quarter. I think it was an hour and a quarter, because we started at midnight and we all knew that if we didn't play quick, we'd fall asleep. So the game is long when you start playing it, but like many other Euro games like this, the playtime really can come down. If you play quick and you know what you're doing, you can get a game of Underwater Cities in 3 players in an hour and a half, and that isn't a long game. Now, 4 players, you're still looking at possibly 2 hours, but the game is great. I love the mechanisms within the game. Many people have compared it to Terraforming Mars. I don't see that, I'm afraid. You're not building up on a shared board. The card system is different. It's got cards in it. That's the only similarity for me. The expansion set brought dual layer player boards because the original version, the player boards were just a bit thin. The expansion did bring the dual layer player boards, which are really nice, and a whole extra variety. I mean, I haven't played really with the advanced player boards where They are very asymmetrical. I really do want to play with them. The theme of the game, it's cool. It's building an underwater city, but it could be anything. The fact that every card in this game is unique is really cool. I like that. And I love the mechanism that you only discard down to your hand size at the start of your turn. So you've got these cards in your hand. You can be looking at them. You can be working out what to do. And you've actually got until it's your turn again before making that decision. It's the only game I've seen that does that. Most of the time it's discard down to your hand size at the end of a turn. But in this one, you've actually got until your next turn to have a look at your cards, and then you discard down. So yeah, Underwater Cities, as I say, I've done videos on it. It's my #1 game of 2018. And finally, and again, these are in alphabetical order. So this is the last one on my list, but you know, I'm not saying where it is in the list because I'm not sure. But this is War Chest. And I'm a little bit surprised this one is on there because it's not that I don't think it's a good game. I think it's a good game. In fact, I think it's more than a good game. But when I looked at that list of these games and trying to pick the ones for my top 10, I looked down and I went, actually, yeah, War Chest is really, really good. So this is a 2 or 4 player tactical combat game that is basically like bag building chess. It's a tactical combat game. I don't generally play tactical combat games, and I definitely don't play chess. But there's something about this game. It is elegant, it's streamlined, the way that the different units interact. I just really like this game. I am actually currently the UK champion of War Chest in that I organised a War Chest tournament at HandyCon a year or so ago. 7 people joined in. We needed 8 for the tournament to work. I said to everybody, do you mind if I join in? They said no, and I went on and won the tournament. So there you go, UK champion of War Chest. There's an expansion set out for it as well, which I've not got round to playing yet, but I do want to because I've heard it's really good. Graphic design is good, rules are clean, just really like this game. Now, I have done a tutorial and playthrough video on this game, and it was when I was just starting setting up my multi-camera setup. It was filmed downstairs in the dining room before I'd even built the studio. But that's on my channel now. So if you want to see more about War Chest, I've not done a review of it, but I did do this multi-camera tutorial and playthrough. It's quite old. Well, it's quite old, you know. It was when I was starting doing the playthroughs. And that's it. So that's everything. Yeah, that's my top 10 games with the honourable mentions. Let me know what you think. Was there anything in here that you thought was a surprise? Was there any game in here that you know that I've played, which you thought should have been on my top 10, but wasn't? And as I say, let me know your top games of 2018, because I'm still young. I still have plenty of time. Games that came out in 2018 that you think are really good and you think I should play, drop me a message, let me know, and I will try and find time and seek them out and play them. There were plenty of other games released in 2018 that I would have loved to have had time to play, but wasn't able to. And finally, just before I go, I wanted to say a big thank you to all of my Patreon supporters for making this video and a lot of the other content that I make possible. If you have watched this video and you like this video, obviously please like and subscribe to the channel, but please consider supporting me on Patreon, because a lot of the work that I do and a lot of the videos that I create are not commissioned videos. They are all done purely through the support of the Patreon campaign, and I've got some extra goals lined up, and obviously meet the next goals, obviously more content for you. So that's everything. I'm going to go away and edit this video now. I hope you've enjoyed it, and as I say, I'm keen to know your thoughts. Until next time, take care, and thanks for watching. Gaming Rules is proudly sponsored by Game Toppers, upgrading your gaming experience. Visit GameToppersLLC.com.